member of your school district, and real excited. Been welcomed. We moved in October, and my kids love it. I've got a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old, and then I've got a 3-year-old. So,
just for the board to know, his son pitched that the state game. We lost 1-0, but he pitched a 4-hit shutout in 8 innings.
Is he the one that's headed to the University of Utah?
No, that's tag.
He's just a junior, so he'll be
My
that.
son's a junior, but
Awesome.
Anyway.
well, he's been great, and it's been great for him to start baseball. It's a little tough to move when you're a junior.
That's a pretty hard age to move.
So he did great. So glad to be here. Let me just give you the legal mumbo jumbo. In this resolution that you're considering sets parameters around the bonds. As Jim mentioned, we don't know the exact interest rates. He showed you a snapshot of what they would be today. Because of that, we create a box for the bonds to be issued in that authorize, as the board would authorize the president and Keith to sign, and superintendent as well, to sign the actual documents to lock in those rates upon sale. Essentially, you're approving a box around which the bonds will be issued in. They will finalize the terms for those, so there's no need to come back to the board for additional approvals. That's a change in state law, and frankly, it goes to your favor. It can be challenging because of the lack of the timing between going into the market and then coming to the board for final approval. Sometimes they will charge a little bit of a premium because of that timing. And so this actually, particularly in a refunding situation, makes you more nimble and authorizes your finance team to operate within a box. So first and foremost, you're setting parameters that would allow the underwriter to achieve this, or the underwriter and financial advisor, which is Jim, to achieve those savings. And I should say it's not an underwriter because we're contemplating a public sale, so it would be a bid process for those bonds. So you're setting parameters, a box. You are authorizing a preliminary official statement, which is a memorandum of the credit of the district. The credit for these bonds is the full faith and credit, same credit that you already have on the 2005s and the 2007 bonds that you're refunding. We're not changing that credit, but we need to describe it and update it from those bonds, because now you have new investors coming in to use current market rates. And so we have created an exhibit for that is attached to this resolution. It's a fascinating read. You think Jim's long-winded, wait till you get a bond lawyer going on documents, and that would be very painful. But that is probably the most important document that is attached to the resolution, is that offering document. There's also an official notice of bond sale that would be approved, the method by which we offer the bonds for sale, and also an escrow agreement to hold those funds for refunding, similar to when you refinance on a house or a mortgage. There's an escrow agent relationship created. The savings, I would note, that Jim has described are net of all costs of issuance, so there would not be any out-of-pocket costs anticipated by the district. This is a refunding, like a no-cost refunding to the district in issuing these bonds. Congratulations to you for being in a position to attract those kinds of rates and things. And if you have any questions on the legal side, I'm more than happy to entertain.
I don't know if it's the legal side, maybe I should know this, but I don't. So you said it goes to bid. Do you search out the bids, or then do people see that we're a good commodity and search out for us?
We do both. Well, actually, there'll be syndicates from Wall Street firms and all investment firms across the country who, on a particular time and date, will submit a bid for the bonds, and they'll be within a couple of thousandths of a percent, and we'll award it to the lowest bidder. So everyone will have a fair chance at them, and should any of your patrons want to purchase those bonds, they can do so by contacting the winning bidder, whoever that might be.
So do you choose solely by the lowest
Yes.
bidder?
We'll set up the parameters, which this document helps do, And as long as they fall within those bidding parameters, we'll award it to
Pre-qualify
the
them,
lowest
you
bidder.
pre-qualify them before
Yes.
they just
Yes.
throw out a
They
little
will also submit a good faith check, so they just can't walk away should the markets turn around, and that will be 2% of the bonds. So hopefully the next time you see us, we'll be reporting to you in July about how much money we actually did save.
So is there something that we need to approve in this meeting today?
Today's resolution.
Right there, okay.
I don't know if you've been assigned a number, Steve, or
We haven't.
you could, each of you, I'm assuming, have electronic copy of that resolution behind you. There are no changes to it since you obtained it. So I would recommend a motion approving the resolution as presented, and then take it in the normal course of it for a vote on it.
I would like a board member, if they would, to read this resolution, and then I'll entertain a motion.
I would like to make a motion that the Board of Education of the Wasatch County School District, Wasatch County, Utah, met in regular session at Wasatch Education Center, 101 East, 200 North, in Weber City, Utah, building at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, May 15th, 2014, with full board here, also President Terry Schumacher, Superintendent Keith Johansson, Business Administrator, and would like to authorize the board president and Keith and Terry to sign the, okay. Sign the bond resolution after meeting. Have been duly called in order, and after other matters not pertaining to the resolution have been discussed, the business administrator presented to the board a certification of compliance with community law with respect to May 15th, 2014 meeting, a copy of which is attached here to for Exhibit A. After due deliberation, the following resolution is considered fully discussed and pursuant to motion made by Ann Horner, seconded by someone else,
Chad Sorensen.
was adopted.
All in favor?
I do it separately.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank you.
continuing looking out for our best interests. We appreciate that, and we know you always do, so thank you.
Great to see you, Gene.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to action item number 2, devices for high school students, and Carl Buchanan will present.
Well, it's good to be here. It's been a long process getting here for the devices for the high school. We started this process back in November, and have made a lot of strides and gone through a lot of different components of this process since then. We've had very good help from the Wasatch High School Faculty Council. We've had some student groups. We've had input from just about every aspect that we've been looking for in this particular project to find a student device for our students for this upcoming year. We put out an RFP. The RFP brought back 10 different devices from 5 vendors, and we've got them listed up here in the order and the rank that our selection committee got together and went through the bids and went through the process to find and select a device for the students. The number 1 rank, as you can see on there, is from VLCM, and it's for the Lenovo Yoga 11E with 8 gigabytes of RAM. You probably are all familiar with the bid that we brought in for the yoga for the teachers earlier in this year. And this particular device is a very similar device to the yoga that we selected for the teacher. It's got a few different features to it. I'll maybe just go through this sheet and give you a summary of what we went through. The number 2 device, as far as the selection committee that came in, was from Microsoft, and it was for a Dell Inspiron. It's a laptop device with a touchscreen on it. And it met criteria for us also, except for the fact that we were looking for a device that had tablet qualities to it. And it's a device that opens up just like a regular laptop, has a touchscreen to it, but doesn't have the ability to convert itself into a tablet of some type. The next device down was the Lenovo Yoga, which was very similar to the one that we purchased for the teachers. It had a little bit downgraded processor and a little bit downgraded memory as far as what was available, but was very similar to it. The next device was from a company called Riverside Technologies, and they proposed an EliteBook 840 G1, which is also a laptop type of device that did not convert into a tablet. And then the next one down was the Yoga 11E, which was given to us in a couple of configurations from GovConnection. One of the differences here that you can see from the one that's at the top of the list and the one that's right here is that it has less memory in it. It's an 8 gig model. It's a 4 gig model as opposed to the 8 gig model, so it gives a little bit of a difference there. And then finally, the last one down here is the Dell Venue Pro and Venue 11 Pro. And it's a what they call a 2-in-1, a device that opens up and clips apart and it becomes a tablet and fulfills the requirements that way. As you can see, the device costs range anywhere there from the $569 all the way up to $926. There's differences in the imaging areas.
How come the same machine? I guess they're 2 different companies though, because the other Lenovo is half the cost of image, but it's not connected, not VLCM.
I'll tell you what was the differences in the bids as far as what they offered in their imaging. We had that as a separate part of the RFP that the vendors came to us with their different options. The ones from VLCM, they included imaging, asset tagging, BIOS changes. We do go into BIOS and change it so that the students don't have access to getting into the very core systems. We put a password into them and do some other things.
Okay.
Yeah, and lock them up. And then they also had included in their bid was also green delivery, which meant they're unboxed, they're unpacked, and everything else. And that's what some of the differences are in these imaging costs right here. Some of them just had imaging and asset tagging alone and didn't provide the BIOS or the unpackaging and the green delivery. And some included imaging, asset tagging, and BIOS to them. So they were different functions, and these are all functions that we would have to do if we don't have the vendor do it. And what we're looking for is a device that can be delivered to us, ready to go, ready to hand to our students. So we don't have to go through
And
that.
they're programmed with the things you will
Yes,
and know,
we provide the image to the vendor,
and then they,
and it's all ready to go, and off we go.
could you explain the warranty?
Okay,
Someone did
let me tell you a little bit about the warranty. We asked the vendors for 3 years or 1, 2, 3, and 4 years worth of warranty on there. Most of them come with a standard factory warranty of 1 year. And then the vendors have added up onto that. There are some of them, like our vendor here at RTI, has included that in their price. They included that into the overall device price. So that's one of the reasons why there's a little bit of disparity with some of the things that we've got. But generally, we're taking a 1 year warranty and adding 2 more years to it to get to a 3-year warranty point on there. And that's what shows up here in the costs. A couple of them were very clear, a couple of them weren't quite so clear, and that's where we came across on these. And so when you go across and you add the device, the imaging, the warranty into it, the final on the end here is what our complete bid is at. A couple of the vendors bid also some devices that we haven't included on this, and they were eliminated by the selection committee by consent for either they were a device that the committee decided that was just outside the parameters of what we wanted to present to you, or they were outside of what we felt like price parameters were. They were above $1,000 or some of the other things that we were looking at. So that's what we have here.
Okay, yes, the devices, you said something about the teachers.
Our teachers currently
Which ones are they using?
have it's the number 3 one down here, the Yoga S100.
So.
And they have a different configuration than what was bid to us. Also, it has more memory and it has a little higher screen resolution on it, and a couple of other things right there.
But that won't inhibit them from lessons with the students with a different device in any way?
No, it shouldn't cause us a problem.
You talk with
We've
the
got
technology?
we've got the same thing at Rocky Mountain Middle School. Our teachers have a different device than what the students have at Rocky Mountain Middle School.
So the books are well and yoga, they'll have quite a bit similar, though, won't they?
Very similar. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the tech person that we're trying to place in the school for support and help if.
Mhm. Well, I'll tell you, our committee spent 3 hours going through the bid selection and spent a great deal of time. We had teachers, administrators, and tech people on that committee, and it was a fun.
Can you tell us who served on that committee with you?
It was Sean Kelly and Gary Roberts and Carrie Knapp and Brett Zabel and Joanne Muir and Jacob Loveland were the ones that, and myself.
And so when did the students get a chance to look at them? And
We've had student groups come in all throughout. We've had demo models, like I said, since November, and a lot of our vendors can attest to that. We've had demo models going back and forth. One of the things that's really hard for a lot of the vendors right now is they're making a lot of changes. There's some new models coming out that won't be available until September, October timeframe that might have fit into this very well for us, but they don't fit our time schedule. And that's one of the things that we've really had to balance. It's really been tough to figure out everything and get it right within the window that we can make everything happen for us. And it's a
when
tough.
will deliveries be made if we choose to go with the 1 year suggested?
It would be in July.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the purchase of the devices for the Wasatch High School students, namely the Lenovo Yoga 11E from the vendor VLCM for a total complete bid of $1,387,817.
A motion, do I have a second? Okay. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? passes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You're up for